Motivation can lift you up or trap you forever. It can spark action, build dreams, and push you forward, or it can keep you chasing a feeling that never lasts. Every day, your discipline, growth, and peace are shaped by what you believe about motivation. The truth is, motivation isn't magic. It's temporary emotion, and when you depend on it, you surrender your power. Anti-motivation is not about feeling inspired. It's about breaking free from the need to feel inspired at all. It's about rebuilding your drive from something stronger: discipline, purpose, and self-command. The truth is, the most successful people in the world don't wake up excited every day. They wake up and move anyway. In this audiobook, we will challenge the false promises of traditional self-help. You will discover why constant positivity weakens you, how discipline outlasts emotion, and how consistency becomes freedom. You will learn to act without waiting for motivation, to replace comfort with clarity, and to build a mindset that performs even on your worst days. This isn't about hype. It's about honesty, about redefining strength as the ability to keep going when the feeling fades. By the time you finish, you will not crave motivation. You will command yourself. You will stop chasing the spark and become the fire. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and prepare to unlearn everything you thought you knew about self-help. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Lie of Motivation. Motivation is the most celebrated lie in the modern world. It is sold in books, echoed in podcasts, printed on coffee mugs, and shouted from stages as if it were the key to every locked door. You are told to wait for it, chase it, protect it, and measure your worth by how much of it you feel. Yet the truth is far less glamorous. Motivation is fragile. It is the sugar rush of self-improvement, sweet, exciting, and gone the moment real life demands effort. You have felt this before. That spark that comes after a video, a speech, or a promise to change. You feel unstoppable for a day, maybe a week. Then life returns to normal. The excitement fades. The work remains. The goals you swore you would conquer begin to feel heavy again. And you blame yourself for not staying motivated. You think you lack something others have. But you don't. You simply believed a myth that was never meant to free you, only to sell you hope in a bottle. Motivation isn't power. It is permission. Permission to act only when it feels good. It tells you that movement requires mood, that energy must come before effort. But that is not how real progress works. The strongest people don't move because they are inspired. They move because they have decided that movement is non-negotiable. They understand that emotion is a visitor, not a ruler. Traditional self-help built an empire on the promise of constant motivation. It made you believe that your growth depended on staying excited. But excitement burns too fast to build anything that lasts. Real growth is slow, repetitive, and often boring. The self-help world rarely tells you that because boredom doesn't sell. It doesn't trend. It doesn't go viral. What goes viral are promises of quick transformations, of limitless energy, of lives that change overnight. The truth, however, is found in consistency without comfort. You do not need motivation. You need clarity. You need to know what matters so deeply that you act even when it hurts. Motivation disappears when you are tired, when you fail, when things don't go as planned. But clarity stays. Clarity reminds you that effort is not optional. When you build a life around clarity, discipline becomes natural. You stop negotiating with your emotions. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start saying, "It's time." This is the beginning of anti-motivation. It is not about rejecting ambition. It is about rejecting the illusion that you need to feel good to do good. The anti-motivation mindset teaches you to detach from mood and connect to method. To train your body and mind to move forward, whether the day feels bright or unbearable. Because growth doesn't care about your feelings. It responds only to repetition. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you most. Were they moments of comfort? Were they easy? No. They were the times you wanted to stop but didn't. The nights you showed up tired. The mornings you pushed through resistance. The challenges that broke you down and rebuilt you stronger. That is where real transformation hides, in the work that no one sees, in the discipline that no one celebrates. Motivation makes you chase an image of yourself that is always smiling, always confident, always ready. Anti-motivation makes you meet the real you, the one who is uncertain, restless, and imperfect, but still moving forward. It forces you to confront the truth that you don't need to feel powerful to act powerfully. Every time you act without waiting to feel ready, you take a piece of your power back. The lie of motivation keeps you waiting for the right moment. But the right moment never comes. There is only now. The present moment is where work lives, where progress begins, where truth resides. When you stop waiting to be inspired and start acting from discipline, every second becomes an opportunity to move forward. This is your wake-up call. You have been told that you must fix how you feel before you can change your life. But feelings are unreliable companions. They rise, they fall, they twist and fade. If you depend on them, you will live in cycles of temporary effort, followed by long stretches of regret. The anti-motivation path breaks that cycle. It replaces emotional dependency with internal command. From now on, you will not ask how to stay motivated. You will ask how to stay consistent. You will not measure your strength by how inspired you feel, but by how long you keep showing up when the excitement is gone. You will replace hype with habits, noise with focus, and dreams with decisions. The world will continue to shout about motivation, about fire and passion and hype. But you will know the secret. You will understand that the real flame doesn't come from emotion. It comes from identity. When discipline becomes who you are, not just what you do, you no longer chase energy. You create it. You no longer rely on inspiration. You rely on integrity. Anti-motivation is not easy. It is quiet work, done alone, without applause. It demands that you trade the thrill of beginnings for the satisfaction of endurance. It asks you to act when your body says rest, to persist when your mind whispers quit. But in that struggle, something incredible happens. You discover that your limits were never real. They were emotional walls built by years of waiting for motivation to arrive. Tear them down. Rebuild yourself with repetition. Do not wait for the perfect mood, the right quote, or the next surge of inspiration. The time for waiting has ended. The work begins every time you choose to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. This is the foundation of anti-motivation. It begins here, in the honesty that feeling good is optional, but finishing is essential. When you finally accept that truth, freedom begins. You are no longer trapped by emotion. You are guided by principle. You are no longer searching for energy. You are building momentum. And momentum, not motivation, is what will carry you to everything you want. So stop waiting for the spark. You are the spark. Move now. Continue tomorrow. Keep building until discipline becomes your default. This is the path of anti-motivation, the quiet rebellion that will outlast every motivational speech you've ever heard. Chapter 2. The Addiction to Inspiration. Motivation fades quickly, but inspiration can be even more dangerous. It feels deeper. It feels noble. It hides itself behind the mask of creativity and passion. Inspiration convinces you that you are on the verge of something great, that your next big move is waiting just behind that burst of excitement. But inspiration is not a plan. It is not a habit. It is a feeling. And feelings are the least reliable foundation you can build a life upon. You know that spark. The one that hits after you watch someone's story of success or hear a powerful speech. You feel an ache in your chest, a kind of hunger that makes you want to start immediately. In that moment, everything seems possible. You buy the book. You set the alarm earlier. You tell yourself this time will be different. But the rush fades, and when it does, the silence after it feels heavier than before. You tell yourself you lost motivation, but that is not what happened. What you lost was the chemical high of beginning. Inspiration is the mind's favorite drug. It rewards you for dreaming, not for doing. Every time you picture your future self, your brain releases dopamine. You feel accomplished without taking a single real step. That is why planning feels so satisfying, why setting goals can feel like progress. The imagination tricks the system. It rewards anticipation the same way it rewards completion. You become hooked on the idea of progress rather than the experience of it. Most people are not lazy. They are addicted to that rush. They love the first day of the gym more than the 20th. They love new notebooks, new goals, new beginnings. They love to start, but they hate the repetition that follows, the part that no one claps for. That addiction to starting is what keeps millions stuck in cycles of enthusiasm and disappointment. You start 100 things and finish none. You chase the emotion of transformation rather than transformation itself. Anti-motivation begins with withdrawal from this addiction. It asks you to stop chasing the feeling of starting and start craving the satisfaction of finishing. It trains you to find excitement, not in novelty, but in repetition. Because mastery only happens after boredom arrives. The first 10 reps are easy. The next 100 build discipline. The next 1,000 change your life. Inspiration tells you to wait for alignment. It whispers that you need to feel ready. Anti-motivation tells you that readiness is an illusion. You act first. The feeling follows. The mind resists discomfort, so it creates excuses disguised as timing. It says, not today, tomorrow will be better, but tomorrow is just a dressed-up version of today. The only thing that changes is your resolve. When you stop depending on inspiration, something powerful happens. You stop being a prisoner of your emotions. You start becoming the architect of your actions. You no longer rise and fall with every mood swing. You develop a rhythm built on consistency, not chemistry. You discover the quiet satisfaction of movement without mood. Every morning you have a choice. You can wait for the spark, or you can strike the stone yourself. Waiting is easier. It feels safer. But waiting teaches weakness. Every time you hesitate, you reinforce the belief that your feelings decide your future. Every time you act despite hesitation, you prove that you decide. That is how the addiction breaks. Not through inspiration, but through defiance. The most powerful people are not constantly inspired. They are consistently present. They know that action produces emotion, not the other way around. When you do the work, momentum creates its own kind of energy. Momentum becomes your drug, and it is one you can control. You no longer need the artificial highs of new beginnings. You are fueled by progress itself. You may think you need passion to start. The truth is, passion is built by starting. It grows through action, not before it. When you stop chasing inspiration and start chasing execution, you find a different kind of fire. The fire that burns slowly, the one that doesn't go out when the day gets hard. The anti-motivation mindset is not cold or joyless. It is clear. It understands that emotion is a wave. You ride it when it's there, and you keep walking when it's not. You do not fight it or worship it. You simply refuse to depend on it. That refusal is freedom. Because once you realize you don't need to feel like doing something to do it, you can do anything. Think of every great creator, every builder, every thinker who changed history. Do you think they woke up every day inspired? No, they woke up human. Some days they felt powerful. Some days they didn't. But they moved anyway. They showed up through illness, through fear, through doubt. That is not inspiration. That is integrity. That is the quiet courage of consistency. To break the addiction to inspiration, you must replace emotion with system. Build routines that don't care how you feel. Schedule your actions. Make the work automatic. Decide once and execute daily. Systems don't need energy. They create it. Every completed task strengthens your identity. Every act of discipline builds a new story about who you are. Soon you stop asking, will I do it today? Because doing it has become part of you. The world loves to glorify passion, but passion is easy. Anyone can feel excited for a few minutes. Endurance is rare. The anti-motivation life is built on endurance, on the ability to persist when the room is quiet, when no one is watching, when the results are invisible. That kind of endurance is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It turns ordinary days into proof of who you are becoming. Inspiration will still visit you sometimes. Let it come, enjoy it. but never rely on it. Treat it as a guest, not a guide. When it leaves, keep walking, because that is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Not how they feel, but how they act when the feeling fades. You don't need constant fire to move forward. You only need one truth burned into your mind. Motion creates meaning. Each step you take without waiting for emotion strengthens your command over yourself. And in that command, you find the real freedom that motivation could never give you. By the time you reach the end of this journey, you will no longer crave inspiration. You will understand that progress is built in silence, that power is born in repetition, and that you are capable of far more than what emotion allows. The addiction to inspiration ends when you decide that your will, not your mood, defines your life. And that decision changes everything. Chapter 3. The Myth of Positive Thinking. Positive thinking has become the modern religion of self-help. It promises salvation through affirmations and endless optimism. It teaches you to smile through struggle, to ignore pain, to pretend that everything is fine even when your life is falling apart. The world tells you that if you just stay positive, good things will find you. But that is not how the mind works, and it is not how reality works. Blind optimism is not strength, it is denial. You have been told to replace every negative thought with a positive one, to erase discomfort, to silence doubt, to speak only in the language of confidence. But forcing positivity is like painting over rust. The surface may look clean for a while, but the corrosion underneath never stopped growing. Real growth begins when you stop lying to yourself about how you feel. The truth is that pain is not your enemy. It is information. It tells you what matters, what must change, and what boundaries you have ignored. When you rush to drown that signal with positivity, you lose the lesson hidden inside it. You trade clarity for comfort. You start to believe that feeling bad means you are failing, but pain does not mean failure. It means feedback. Traditional self-help turned positivity into performance. You learn to say the right things, to post the right quotes, to look unshaken. You build a mask so polished that even you start believing it. But behind that mask, your mind grows weaker, because pretending to be fine when you are not doesn't build strength. It builds pressure. And pressure, when ignored long enough, will break anything. Anti-motivation teaches the opposite. It teaches you to face your emotions directly, to look at your fear, your frustration, your anger, and see them as part of the process. When you allow discomfort to exist without judgment, it loses its power over you. What controls you is not pain itself, but your resistance to it. Every time you run from what hurts, you make it bigger. Every time you face it, you make yourself stronger. You do not need to turn pain into positivity. You need to turn it into purpose. The most resilient people are not always happy. They are honest. They understand that the mind grows sharper through struggle. They know that peace is not found in pretending everything is fine, but in knowing they can survive when it isn't. That is the foundation of real confidence, trusting yourself to handle the hard things without needing to sugarcoat them. The obsession with positivity has another hidden cost. It kills depth. When everything must be good vibes only, there is no room for authenticity. You stop having real conversations. You stop connecting honestly. You start fearing your own thoughts. The moment you feel anxious or doubtful, you call it negative energy and push it away. But the more you avoid your darkness, the more control it gains over you. The parts of yourself you reject become the shadows that direct your life from behind the scenes. Anti-motivation asks for honesty, not happiness. It asks you to tell the truth about your exhaustion, your uncertainty, your flaws. Because once you stop hiding from them, you can finally work on them. The mind does not heal through pretending. It heals through understanding. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. There is nothing weak about acknowledging struggle. Weakness comes from living in denial. Every time you admit, "I am not okay right now, but I am still moving," you build integrity. You learn that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to act in the middle of it. Positive thinking tells you to affirm the life you want until it appears. Anti-motivation tells you to build it, one honest effort at a time. Words alone will not save you. Action will. The truth spoken without effort is noise. The truth lived through discipline becomes transformation. There is a kind of peace that comes when you stop forcing yourself to be positive. It is quieter, deeper, more real. It is the peace of acceptance. You stop judging yourself for being human. You stop fearing bad days. You stop measuring your worth by your emotions. You begin to understand that it is possible to be grateful and tired at the same time, to be hopeful and hurt, to be strong and still healing. This chapter is not an invitation to pessimism. It is an invitation to balance. Realistic optimism is the middle ground between blind positivity and hopelessness. It is seeing the world exactly as it is and choosing to act anyway. It is saying, "This is difficult, but I can handle it." That is the kind of mindset that outlasts failure, rejection, and fatigue. It is sustainable because it is honest. When you let go of forced positivity, you stop wasting energy pretending to be fine. That energy can finally go into change. You stop spending your mornings trying to manifest discipline and start practicing it. You stop chasing moods and start building habits. You learn to move through your emotions, not around them. In the anti-motivation life, the goal is not to always feel good. The goal is to stay consistent regardless of how you feel. Your emotions are signals, not orders. They can guide you, but never define you. The moment you understand that, you take your power back. You can feel afraid and still act brave. You can feel uninspired and still create. You can feel sad and still keep moving. That is the true meaning of emotional strength. Positive thinking may make you smile for a moment, but truth builds character for a lifetime. The kind of power that lasts is born in discomfort, raised in discipline, and strengthened through honesty. It is not loud or flashy. It is quiet, patient, unshakable. So stop forcing positivity. Stop pretending that pain means failure. Let your emotions come and go like waves, but never let them decide your direction. The moment you stop demanding constant happiness is the moment you start experiencing real peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you can face reality as it is and still rise. By the end of this journey, you will no longer fear your own feelings. You will see that honesty, not positivity, is the foundation of resilience. You will no longer look for light to appear. You will become it. And from that light, not the artificial glow of constant optimism, but the steady fire of truth, you will build a life that no disappointment can destroy. Chapter 4. Why Discipline Destroys Excuses. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not loud. It does not need a crowd, a quote, or a spark to begin. It is quiet. It is steady. It is the invisible force that keeps you moving when the excitement is gone and the room is silent. Most people fear discipline because it removes the comfort of excuses. When you live by discipline, there is no one left to blame and nowhere left to hide. You face yourself every day, and that is the hardest battle to win. Motivation asks, "Do you feel like it?" Discipline says, "It doesn't matter." Motivation needs inspiration to move. Discipline needs only a decision. The reason most people fail is not because they lack dreams or intelligence. They fail because they keep waiting to feel ready. Discipline eliminates that waiting. It removes the need for permission. It tells you that readiness is a trap, that you must act before you feel prepared, and that commitment is built through repetition, not emotion. You already know what needs to be done. The problem isn't knowledge, it's follow-through. The modern world gives you endless ways to escape your responsibilities. There's always something new to scroll, a distraction waiting to rescue you from effort. The mind loves that kind of relief. It rewards you with comfort, but it robs you of growth. Every time you give in to an excuse, you strengthen the habit of quitting. Every time you push through discomfort, you weaken it. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is showing up even when you are tired, frustrated, or uninspired, because you understand that progress lives in those moments. Think of every goal you've ever set and never achieved. Behind every unfinished project, every abandoned resolution, every "I'll start tomorrow," there is a pattern of excuses. You tell yourself you are too tired, too busy, too overwhelmed, or that it's not the right time. But the truth is that there will never be a perfect time. There will never be a day when you have all the energy, focus, and motivation you think you need. The people who succeed are not those who wait for the right moment. They are the ones who move through the wrong ones. Discipline destroys excuses because it teaches you to separate what is true from what is convenient. The mind is clever. It will convince you that you need rest when you need focus. It will whisper that you've earned a break when you've barely started. Discipline doesn't argue with those thoughts. It overrides them. It doesn't rely on negotiation. It relies on identity. You do what needs to be done because that is who you are, not because you happen to feel like it. This is the heart of anti-motivation. You stop chasing the rush of starting and begin respecting the grind of continuing. Discipline is what turns desire into direction. It is what transforms effort into habit and habit into identity. When you no longer need motivation to move, you become free, because then nothing external can control you. Not your mood, not your circumstances, not other people's opinions. You move by principle, not preference. Discipline is often misunderstood as something cold or harsh, but it is actually a form of love. It is self-respect in action. It is the moment you decide that your potential deserves more than your excuses. Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. Protection from the weakness that comes with inconsistency. Protection from the regret that follows procrastination. Every act of discipline says to yourself, "I am worth the effort." At first, discipline feels like resistance. You fight it. You resent it. You think it takes your freedom away. But over time, you realize it was the opposite. The structure you once resisted becomes the foundation that holds your life together. The rules you once hated become the tools that set you free. Because when you live without discipline, you are a slave to impulse. When you live with discipline, you become your own master. Excuses lose their power when you stop entertaining them. The next time your mind says, "I'll do it later," answer with action. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't analyze the feeling, move. The first step doesn't need to be big, it just needs to be real. Once you begin, motion creates its own momentum. Discipline lives in that first step. It lives in the decision to act despite resistance. The more you practice discipline, the quieter your excuses become. You stop needing to explain why you can't. You stop defending your weaknesses. You start protecting your priorities. The people around you might not understand. They will call you obsessed or rigid, but they will not understand the peace that comes from doing what must be done without internal debate. There is strength in simplicity. When you remove the noise of excuses, life becomes clearer. You know what to do, when to do it, and why it matters. You no longer waste energy convincing yourself to move. You move automatically. That is freedom. That is power. You will not build discipline overnight. It is carved slowly through repetition. Every day you choose structure over comfort. You are rewiring your mind. You are teaching it that success is not emotional. It is procedural. You are proving to yourself that you can rely on your own word. That reliability is the foundation of self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of real confidence. Traditional self-help will tell you to believe in yourself. Anti-motivation tells you to act until belief becomes unnecessary. Discipline does not ask for belief. It asks for proof. Every completed task, every consistent day, every promise kept is proof. Proof that you can depend on yourself. Proof that you no longer need external motivation to function. Proof that you have become the type of person who does what they said they would do. Excuses cannot survive in that environment. They wither in the face of consistency. They lose credibility when your actions speak louder than your intentions. Eventually, you stop identifying with the part of you that makes excuses. You stop saying, "I can't," and start saying, "I will." The greatest freedom you will ever experience is not doing whatever you want. It is doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. That freedom gives you peace. It removes guilt because you know you are living in alignment. It removes anxiety because you no longer depend on unstable emotions. It replaces chaos with clarity. Discipline is the quiet strength that builds empires, relationships, and character. It is the silent proof that you have outgrown your own weakness. It does not shout. It does not rush. It simply endures. And through that endurance, everything changes. So begin today. Stop waiting for the right moment. Stop listening to the voice that says you are not ready. You are ready the moment you start. Take one step, then another. Let your actions speak for you. Let your consistency redefine you. Let discipline silence every excuse that ever held you back, because once you master discipline, you no longer need motivation. You no longer need to convince yourself to move. You simply move. And in that movement, you find the freedom that the world's noise could never give you. Chapter 5. The Power of Boredom. Boredom is not the enemy. It is the threshold of mastery. It is the point where most people quit, and where the few who endure begin to rise. The world has taught you to fear boredom, to treat it as a signal that something is wrong. You are told to seek constant excitement, to chase new goals, new entertainment, new stimulation. But the truth is that greatness is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in repetition. It is born in the hours when nothing seems to happen. You have been conditioned to believe that progress must feel dramatic. You think change should come with fireworks and energy. But real progress is quiet. It is the result of doing the same small task over and over until it becomes second nature. The best performers in any field are not addicted to thrill. They are addicted to consistency. They have learned to fall in love with what most people avoid, the stillness of repetition. Boredom arrives the moment the initial spark of motivation fades. It tests your devotion. It asks one question. Do you truly want this, or do you only want to feel excited about wanting it? Most people fail this test. They interpret boredom as a sign to stop, to pivot, to find something new. But boredom is not a wall. It is a doorway. On the other side of it lies focus. On the other side lies excellence. The mind craves novelty because it fears silence. When you are still, you are forced to face your thoughts. You are forced to confront discomfort, insecurity, and the truth about your own patience. That is why boredom feels painful. It is not the absence of stimulation. It is the presence of awareness. You begin to see how restless you are. You notice how quickly your attention runs away. That awareness is uncomfortable, but it is also the beginning of growth. When you choose to stay inside boredom, something changes. Your attention sharpens. Your senses heighten. The noise inside your mind quiets, and you begin to see details you once missed. You stop seeking constant reward and start appreciating progress itself. You start to realize that what you do repeatedly becomes who you are. The power of boredom lies in what it reveals about your discipline. It shows you how much of your work is driven by emotion rather than commitment. The truth is that boredom exposes weakness. It strips away illusion. When the excitement fades, all that remains is your willingness to continue. That willingness defines your future. Every expert you admire has lived through boredom. Athletes repeat the same movements thousands of times. Musicians practice scales until their fingers ache. Writers rewrite the same sentence until it finally breathes. The greats are not the most talented, they are the most patient. They have trained their minds to endure monotony because they understand that repetition is not punishment. It is progress in disguise. The problem is that most people never give boredom a chance to teach them. The moment focus becomes difficult, they reach for distraction. A quick scroll, a new video, another idea to chase. Every distraction promises relief, but steals depth. Every time you escape boredom, you train your brain to expect stimulation instead of concentration. You weaken the muscle of endurance. You make yourself dependent on variety. Anti-motivation invites you to break that pattern. It teaches you to sit inside repetition until it becomes peaceful. The goal is not to fight boredom, but to transform your relationship with it. Instead of asking for excitement, you begin to seek precision. You start caring about the quality of your work rather than the novelty of your experience. You start measuring progress, not by how you feel, but by how consistent you remain. Boredom is where transformation happens quietly. It is where identity is rebuilt. When you repeat the same small act with intention, you strengthen the neural pathways that make effort easier over time. The mind resists at first, but the body remembers. What was once forced becomes automatic. What was once effort becomes rhythm. That rhythm is where discipline is born. To master boredom, you must redefine what satisfaction means. Satisfaction should not come from results alone, but from the act of staying with the process. Every time you resist the urge to quit, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you build mental resilience. Boredom becomes your training ground. It is not something to escape, but something to conquer. You will notice that the more you endure boredom, the calmer you become. The chaos of constant craving begins to fade. You no longer chase stimulation because you have built something stronger, presence. Presence is not excitement. It is awareness without the need for noise. It is the ability to exist fully in one moment without needing it to entertain you. That state is power. It gives you control over your time, your attention, and your emotions. There will be moments when boredom feels unbearable. You will want to stop. You will tell yourself that you need a break or that your passion is gone. That is when you must remind yourself that boredom is not the end. It is the threshold. Push through it. On the other side is mastery. On the other side is freedom from the constant pull of distraction. The anti-motivation mindset teaches you that discipline is not only about doing hard things. It is about doing simple things repeatedly until they become your nature. Boredom refines you. It burns away impatience, ego, and the craving for validation. It teaches you to work without applause, to grow without attention, and to stay focused when no one is watching. When you stop fearing boredom, you start unlocking your highest potential. You begin to understand that the most extraordinary results come from ordinary actions done consistently. You learn that progress is not a series of exciting moments, but a long sequence of quiet repetitions. Each day you show up, you lay another brick. Each hour you stay present, you strengthen the foundation. Eventually, the structure of your life stands tall, not because of a single burst of motivation, but because of your ability to endure boredom without losing focus. So stop running from stillness. Stop chasing stimulation. Sit in the silence and let it shape you. Let boredom become your ally. Learn to work without the need for excitement. Learn to find meaning in the mundane. Because the moment you do, you will discover the truth that very few ever find. Boredom is not emptiness. It is potential waiting for your attention. It is the quiet before greatness. It is the space where your future self is built. Embrace it. Stay with it. Let it teach you patience, endurance, and mastery. The world will keep chasing stimulation, but you will be moving quietly, steadily, and powerfully toward everything they will never reach. Chapter 6. Destroying the need to be impressive. The world teaches you to perform. From the moment you begin to speak, you are told to prove your worth, to make others like you, to earn approval. Every action becomes a performance. Every success a form of validation. You learn to chase praise instead of progress. You start measuring your growth through the reactions of others, not through the quiet truth of your own development. And without realizing it, you begin to live for the image of yourself rather than the reality of who you are. This chapter is about ending that performance. It is about breaking the habit of living for applause. Because the need to impress others is one of the greatest barriers to real strength. It traps you in a loop of seeking attention instead of building authenticity. It makes you fragile. Every compliment becomes a small hit of confidence, and every silence feels like rejection. When you depend on praise, your power no longer belongs to you. Think about how much of your effort comes from the desire to be seen. You post your progress to be admired, not to be accountable. You work hard, but only if someone is watching. You act disciplined, but only when it earns respect. This is how the need to impress poisons discipline. It turns what should be a personal commitment into a public performance. You start doing things for attention rather than alignment. The truth is, people are rarely watching as closely as you think. Everyone is too busy performing their own show. The attention you are chasing is temporary and shallow. What truly matters is the work that happens in silence, when no one is clapping, when no one even knows what you are building. That is where identity grows. That is where power matures. To destroy the need to be impressive, you must first understand where it comes from. It begins in insecurity. Deep down, you do not believe you are enough as you are, so you create an image that feels safer, stronger, and more accepted. You start editing yourself to fit the expectations of others. The more you do it, the more distant you become from your true self. Eventually, you forget who you were before you began pretending. Anti-motivation challenges that illusion. It asks you to live without the costume, to stop performing and start being, to act not because someone will see it, but because it aligns with your truth. The strength that comes from authenticity is quieter, but far more stable than the strength that comes from performance. It does not need recognition to survive. It does not crumble when attention fades. You will notice that when you stop trying to impress others, your decisions become simpler. You no longer waste energy calculating how things will look. You begin to move from a place of clarity rather than comparison. You start working because it feels right, not because it looks right. That is the foundation of self-respect. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be excellent. But excellence is not about being admired. It is about mastery. The difference is subtle but life-changing. When you chase admiration, you are dependent on other people's perception. When you chase mastery, you are driven by your own standards. The first drains you. The second fulfills you. The need to impress also keeps you trapped in fear. You fear judgment, failure, and criticism. You start avoiding risk because you are afraid of losing your image. You stop trying new things because imperfection might make you look weak. But the irony is that in trying to appear flawless, you stop growing altogether. Real power comes from vulnerability, the courage to look imperfect while you improve. The most confident people are not the ones who appear perfect. They are the ones who no longer need to appear at all. You do not have to broadcast every victory. You do not have to explain every failure. You do not owe the world a version of yourself that is always polished. Growth is messy. Progress is private. The greatest transformations happen behind closed doors, in the quiet repetition of effort that no one celebrates. You must learn to love that kind of anonymity. When you stop needing to impress, you start focusing on what actually moves you forward. You work more deeply. You think more clearly. You connect more authentically. You stop performing confidence and start living it. You stop chasing respect and start earning it through presence, consistency, and integrity. This mindset shift will feel uncomfortable at first. You will crave the old rush of recognition. You will want people to notice your effort. But eventually, the absence of attention will become liberating. You will realize that the silence you once feared is the space where real growth happens. To live without the need to impress, practice doing things quietly. Exercise without posting about it. Read without announcing it. Improve without broadcasting it. Let your growth be something that belongs to you alone. The less you rely on external validation, the more internal stability you build. There will be people who misunderstand your stillness. They will think you have lost drive or ambition, but you will know the truth. You will be channeling your energy into depth rather than display. You will no longer waste time proving your worth because you will be too busy living it. The people who truly matter will see your character through your consistency, not your performance. The people who only loved your image will fade away. That is how life filters itself. You do not need to fight for attention. You only need to stay aligned with your purpose. The rest will follow. Destroying the need to be impressive is not about rejecting excellence. It is about redefining it. It is about learning that the most powerful version of you is not the one who shines brightest in public, but the one who stands firm in private. It is the version of you that works when no one notices, that chooses integrity over image, that values truth over applause. By the end of this transformation, you will begin to feel something new: peace. The constant pressure to prove yourself will fade. You will no longer compare your journey to others because you will be fully present in your own. You will stop needing to be admired and start needing to be real. This is where power begins, in authenticity, in quiet effort, in the decision to show up for yourself, not for the crowd. When you destroy the need to be impressive, you become unstoppable because you are no longer performing for permission. You are finally free to grow for the right reasons. Your worth does not increase when someone notices you. It increases every time you keep your word to yourself. Every time you act without the need for recognition, you strengthen the foundation of who you are. And when you finally stop performing, you begin to live, not as a show for the world, but as proof of your own truth. Chapter 7. The Discipline of Darkness. There is a side of growth that no one talks about. It is the part that happens when the lights are off, when you are alone, and when no one is cheering. The darkness is not glamorous. It does not care about your affirmations or your goals. It only cares about what you actually do when everything becomes difficult. Most people avoid this part of life. They run toward comfort, toward noise, toward anything that distracts them from silence. But the truth is that the darkness is where the strongest version of you is built. You cannot grow only in the light. You cannot build resilience through ease. Strength comes from resistance. It is born in struggle, in quiet endurance, in the moments when giving up would be easier. The discipline of darkness is the ability to stay committed when nothing feels rewarding. It is the calm persistence that carries you through the seasons when motivation has vanished and results seem invisible. There will be times when progress slows to a crawl. You will doubt yourself. You will question whether what you are doing matters. You will look around and see others moving faster, shining brighter, and you will wonder if something is wrong with you. That is when most people stop. They confuse the darkness for failure, but it is not failure, it is incubation. It is the space where your roots grow deep enough to handle the weight of what is coming. Discipline in darkness means trusting the process, even when you cannot see the reward. It means waking up and doing the work, not because it is exciting, but because it is necessary. The darkness demands faith in effort itself. You must believe that each small act, each repetition, each quiet hour is forming a foundation that will one day support your success. The world celebrates the finished product, but the real transformation happens when no one is watching. Think of a seed buried in the soil. It spends weeks or months in darkness before breaking the surface. If you were to dig it up too soon to check its progress, you would kill it. Growth needs time. It needs patience. It needs the willingness to endure isolation before visibility. The same is true for your life. The moments when you feel unseen are not punishment. They are preparation. The discipline of darkness also teaches you honesty. When the world is quiet, you can no longer hide behind performance. You are forced to face your fears, your laziness, your distractions, your insecurities. The darkness reveals who you truly are when there is nothing to gain from pretending. This is where real accountability begins. You either face yourself or you remain a stranger to your own potential. At first, the darkness feels heavy. It feels endless. But as you adapt, you begin to see that it is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It strips away your illusions and exposes what is real. It shows you the habits that hold you back and the patterns that keep you stuck. In the absence of applause, You learn to listen to your inner voice. You begin to understand what truly drives you. You stop doing things for validation and start doing them for alignment. There is a purity to struggle. It clarifies your intentions. It separates what you want from what you are willing to work for. Many people say they want success, but few are willing to endure the silence and repetition that success requires. The discipline of darkness demands that you walk forward without assurance, that you keep building even when the reward is far away. That is where faith in yourself becomes real. When you learn to embrace the darkness, you stop needing constant reassurance. You stop chasing comfort. You become self-directed. You realize that light is not something you wait for. It is something you create through persistence. Every day you show up, you bring a little more light into your world. You generate your own clarity through motion. You start to see that consistency itself is illumination. The darkness will test you. It will whisper that your effort is pointless. It will tempt you to compare your journey to others. It will make you question your timing, your talent, and your worth. But that is its purpose. It pushes you to build strength where none existed before. It teaches you to rely on discipline instead of emotion. When you can move through darkness without losing direction, you become unstoppable. There will be nights when you feel like nothing is working. You will be tired, uncertain, and ready to quit. In those moments, remind yourself that darkness is not the absence of progress. It is the environment where endurance is born. Every repetition in the dark adds weight to your foundation. Every moment of quiet effort strengthens your resilience. The people who thrive in the light are not different from you. They simply survived their darkness longer. They stayed when others left. They trusted their work when no one believed in it. They understood that the path to mastery is not built on excitement, but on devotion. Devotion to doing what must be done, regardless of feeling. The discipline of darkness is also the discipline of patience. It is resisting the urge to rush the process. The world glorifies speed, but real transformation requires time. When you accept that growth cannot be forced, you stop fighting the timeline. You focus on precision instead of pace. You learn that consistency over time always beats bursts of intensity. As you grow stronger, you will begin to appreciate the solitude of the dark. You will start to see beauty in the quiet. The noise of comparison fades, and the only voice left is your own. You begin to trust that voice. You start making choices that align with who you are becoming rather than who you were. This is where confidence is built, not from external validation, but from internal proof. Eventually, you will emerge from the darkness. You will look back and realize that the struggle you resented was the best thing that ever happened to you. It built the resilience you could not have learned in comfort. It forced you to develop habits that no one could take away. The darkness shaped your discipline, and discipline became your light. Every person who has achieved something great has walked this path. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is not talent, but endurance. They stayed when others left. They believed when others doubted. They kept showing up when no one noticed. You are capable of the same strength. You only need to stop fearing the quiet seasons. Learn to move through them. Learn to trust that what feels like delay is actually development. The darkness is not there to punish you. It is there to prepare you. So embrace it. Let it harden your resolve. Let it polish your patience. Let it teach you the kind of strength that does not fade when the lights go out. Because the truth is simple. If you can stay disciplined in the dark, there is nothing in the light that can stop you. Chapter 8. Failure as Fuel. Failure is a teacher that speaks a language few are willing to learn. It does not flatter you. It does not comfort you. It exposes you. It shows you exactly where your weaknesses are and demands that you do something about them. Most people run from that truth. They see failure as an ending rather than a message. They mistake it for proof that they are not good enough instead of proof that they are trying. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is the process that shapes it. You cannot become great without failing. It is impossible. Every skill, every achievement, every transformation comes with mistakes, setbacks, and disappointments. Failure is not a sign that you are broken. It is evidence that you are alive, that you are moving, that you are daring to do something most people only talk about. When you stop fearing failure, you free yourself from the limits that keep others frozen. The problem is that the modern world has taught you to fear being wrong. It rewards perfection and punishes imperfection. From school to work to social media, you are conditioned to hide your flaws and display only the polished version of your life. You are trained to equate mistakes with shame. So you learn to play safe, to stay small, to avoid risks that could expose your humanity. But safety is a prison. The walls are soft, but they still keep you trapped. Anti-motivation teaches a different path. It tells you to stop hiding from failure and start using it. Failure is information. It is feedback. It is raw data that shows you what doesn't work. Every mistake carries a lesson, and those lessons compound into wisdom. When you learn to see failure through that lens, it loses its power to humiliate you. It becomes a resource instead of a wound. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall hundreds of times, yet they never see those falls as evidence that they cannot walk. Each stumble is progress. Each mistake is an adjustment. That same truth applies to you, but somewhere along the way, you forgot it. You became too self-conscious to fail publicly, too proud to fail privately. The irony is that the more you avoid failure, the further you stay from mastery. Every successful person you admire has a history written in mistakes. They failed more times than others even tried. The only difference between them and the rest is that they refused to give their failures emotional weight. They treated each setback like an experiment. They looked for what went wrong, learned from it, and adjusted. That is the discipline of anti-motivation, removing emotion from failure and replacing it with curiosity. When you start doing that, everything changes. You no longer see mistakes as personal attacks. You begin to see them as teachers. You stop saying, "I failed," and start saying, "I learned." That shift is powerful. It turns every loss into movement. Failure stops being final. It becomes fuel. Failure also builds humility, which is an essential part of growth. Success can make you complacent. It can feed your ego and make you forget that there is more to learn. Failure humbles you. It brings you back to the ground. It reminds you that progress is not guaranteed, that effort must be renewed every day. That humility keeps you sharp. It keeps you hungry. It keeps you real. But to turn failure into fuel, you must remove shame from the process. Shame is what keeps people stuck. It turns a temporary loss into a permanent identity. When you tell yourself, "I am a failure," you close the door to learning. When you tell yourself, "I failed at this," you leave the door open to growth. The difference is small in words, but massive in impact. One is a judgment. The other is a perspective. Anti-motivation is built on perspective. It understands that life will never unfold perfectly. You will make mistakes, sometimes big ones. You will disappoint yourself. You will lose momentum. But none of that defines you. What defines you is how quickly you recover, how deeply you reflect, and how courageously you return to the path. Every failure carries within it the opportunity to rise stronger. It is natural to feel pain when you fail. You are human. Let yourself feel it, but do not stay there. Pain has a purpose. It brings awareness. It shows you where you need to improve. But once it has delivered its message, you must let it go. Holding on to it serves no purpose. Move forward with the lesson, not the emotion. You will notice that when you begin to detach from the fear of failure, you take more risks. You begin to experiment more freely. You stop waiting for certainty and start building momentum through trial and error. You stop fearing rejection because you understand that rejection is simply redirection. Failure becomes part of the rhythm. It loses its sting because you now know what it truly means. It means you are in motion. Some of your failures will hurt deeply. They will shake your confidence and test your patience. You might question your path, your ability, even your purpose. That is normal. But remember that the most painful failures often contain the most powerful lessons. They show you not only what you need to fix, but also what truly matters to you. You do not fight for what you do not care about. The depth of your pain often reveals the depth of your purpose. Failure also has a cleansing effect. It burns away ego, laziness, and illusion. It forces you to simplify. When everything falls apart, you see what truly matters. You see who you are without the mask of success. That clarity is worth every stumble. The key is to fail forward. Every time something doesn't work, take a moment to analyze it. Ask yourself why. What pattern led to this? What can be changed? What can be improved? Treat your life like a laboratory. Failure is not the end of the experiment. It is the data that leads to the next trial. The only real failure is refusing to learn. There will come a day when you look back and realize that your failures built you more than your victories ever did. Success is comfortable, but comfort rarely transforms you. Failure reshapes you. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your heart, and deepens your resolve. It makes you aware of your limits and gives you the drive to surpass them. When you understand that, you stop running from failure. You begin to seek challenges that test you. You start aiming higher, knowing that even if you fall short, you will grow. You stop chasing the illusion of perfection and start pursuing progress. Failure is not a threat. It is a mirror. It reflects truth without kindness. It shows you where your effort ends and where it must continue. It reveals who you are beneath your ambitions. That reflection may be hard to face, but it is also what sets you free. So do not hide from your mistakes. Study them. Learn from them. Thank them. Each one is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. You will fail again, and that is good. It means you are still trying. It means you are still alive. It means you still care. Let failure refine you, not define you. Let it fuel you rather than frighten you. Keep moving forward with humility and curiosity. Because every setback, every misstep, every wrong turn is not the end of your story. It is the part that makes the story worth telling. Chapter 9. The Quiet Confidence. Confidence is often misunderstood. People imagine it as loud, visible, and dramatic. They picture it in charisma, in speeches, in the ability to command a room. But real confidence is not noise. It is silence. It is the calm inside you that does not need to be proven, explained, or announced. Quiet confidence is the kind that lasts. It does not crumble under pressure or seek validation in applause. It simply exists, steady and unshakable. The world glorifies confidence as performance. You are told to speak louder, stand taller, and fake it until you make it. You are told to look confident even when you are not. And for a while, that performance can work. People might believe it. You might even convince yourself. But deep down, the act becomes exhausting. Because pretending to be confident is not the same as being confident. The real thing cannot be faked, and it cannot be borrowed. It must be built from within. Quiet confidence begins when you stop chasing approval. It begins when you no longer need others to confirm your worth. This shift is not dramatic, it is internal. You begin to trust your own judgment more than the opinions of the crowd. You stop needing to explain yourself. You stop defending your choices. You begin to understand that the people who truly matter will see your value through your actions, not your performance. Confidence is not the absence of doubt. It is the ability to act even when doubt is present. Everyone feels fear, hesitation, and uncertainty. The difference is that confident people do not let those feelings decide for them. They feel them, acknowledge them, and move anyway. They do not wait to feel ready because readiness is an illusion. They understand that courage comes first and confidence follows. You will never think your way into confidence. You must act your way into it. Each time you follow through on a promise to yourself, confidence grows. Each time you show up despite fear, confidence deepens. It is built on evidence, your own evidence. Quiet confidence is the result of thousands of small moments where you chose discipline over comfort, integrity over popularity, and truth over appearance. This kind of confidence cannot be taken from you because it is not based on image. It does not depend on applause, success, or circumstance. It is built through repetition and self-respect. You begin to realize that confidence is not about what you have achieved, but about who you have proven yourself to be. The secret to quiet confidence is self-trust. You trust that you can handle what comes your way. You trust that you will recover from setbacks. You trust your judgment, your resilience, and your ability to adapt. That trust comes only from experience. You cannot affirm your way into it. You earn it by keeping your word to yourself again and again, especially when no one is watching. In the beginning, this may feel uncertain. You may feel small. You may question your strength. But over time, as you build habits of consistency, something shifts. You stop looking outside for reassurance. You start noticing that the voice of fear gets quieter. You start realizing that you do not need to be perfect to be powerful. You only need to be honest and persistent. Quiet confidence also means being comfortable with not being liked by everyone. You understand that disagreement is not rejection. You stop bending yourself to please others because you finally value peace more than approval. You no longer feel the need to argue or prove yourself to those who misunderstand you. Silence becomes your power, not your weakness. You respond less because you need to justify less. Confidence is not about winning every battle. It is about not needing to fight unnecessary ones. It is choosing calm over chaos. It is knowing that you have nothing to prove, only something to protect: your focus, your energy, and your peace. You learn that walking away is often stronger than trying to convince someone who cannot hear you. There will be moments when your confidence is tested. You will face criticism, rejection, and doubt from others. But instead of reacting, you will learn to pause. That pause is strength. It is the gap between emotion and response. It is where composure is built. Quiet confidence is not reactive, it is reflective. You think before you move. You listen before you speak. You decide before you are pressured. Anti-motivation teaches that real confidence comes not from constant hype, but from quiet mastery. It is not about convincing yourself that you are unstoppable. It is about knowing that even when you fall, you will rise. Even when you fail, you will learn. Even when you are afraid, you will act. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not pretending to know everything. It is the calm acceptance that you will figure it out. The strongest people are often the calmest. They do not shout their value, they live it. They do not seek to dominate, they seek to understand. Their presence speaks louder than their words because they are not trying to impress anyone. They are simply being themselves, fully and unapologetically. That is the essence of quiet confidence. To cultivate it, spend more time with yourself. Sit in stillness, reflect on your values and the kind of person you want to be. Stop comparing your journey to others. Comparison drains confidence because it convinces you that you are behind, when in truth you are simply on your own path. Quiet confidence thrives in authenticity. It grows when you stop pretending, when you stop performing, when you start aligning your actions with your truth. Confidence is not something you wake up with one day. It grows quietly in the background of your effort. It grows every time you push through resistance. It grows every time you handle discomfort with grace. It grows when you show kindness without weakness, when you stay patient in uncertainty, when you keep your composure in chaos. The most confident people are not fearless. They have simply made peace with fear. They understand that fear is not an enemy, but a signal. It shows them where growth is waiting. Instead of running from fear, they walk toward it. And in doing so, they expand their world. Quiet confidence is also humility. It is the recognition that you are always learning, that no matter how strong you become, there is always more to discover. It is being open to correction without losing pride. It is being teachable without being timid. Confidence without humility turns into arrogance, but humility without confidence turns into self-doubt. The balance of the two creates power with grace. As you continue your journey, remember that you do not need to announce your growth. You do not need to prove that you are confident. Let your silence speak. Let your presence carry weight. People will feel it. They will sense the steadiness in your energy, the calm in your eyes, the groundedness in your choices. That is real confidence, the kind that does not fade when no one is looking. When you reach that point, life becomes simpler. You stop chasing validation. You stop performing. You stop explaining. You start living. You start trusting. You start being. Quiet confidence becomes your armor. It shields you from chaos and grounds you in truth. You realize that the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The strongest one is the calmest, the one who knows and does not need to prove it. That is who you are becoming. Not loud, not desperate, not performative, but calm, centered, and powerful in silence. Chapter 10. Becoming the Still Mind. The final stage of anti-motivation is not about doing more. It is about becoming still enough to move with purpose. The modern world is addicted to noise. Everyone is rushing, scrolling, reacting, and chasing. The constant motion makes people feel alive, but it also keeps them blind. They mistake activity for progress, reaction for power, and distraction for purpose. The still mind sees through that illusion. It acts, but never rushes. It observes, but never overthinks. It has mastered the art of motion without chaos. Stillness is not weakness. It is control. It is the state in which your mind is so focused that outside noise loses its grip on you. You stop being thrown around by every thought, every opinion, every emotion. You start operating from awareness rather than impulse. That is the highest form of power, the ability to remain calm in a world that profits from your panic. To become the still mind, you must learn to sit with silence. Most people cannot. They fill every quiet moment with stimulation. They cannot stand to be alone with their thoughts because silence reveals everything they have been avoiding. The mind resists it at first. It will try to pull you back to distraction, to comfort, to noise. But if you endure that resistance, you begin to feel something extraordinary: clarity. In stillness, you start to see how much of your energy has been wasted on reaction. You realize how often your emotions have dictated your choices. You begin to notice that the mind creates stories that are not true, fears that are not real, and expectations that only drain your peace. When you stop reacting to every thought, you begin to think clearly. That clarity is freedom. The still mind does not suppress emotion. It observes it. It does not ignore fear. It understands it. When anger, anxiety, or sadness arise, the still mind watches them come and go like waves. It does not identify with them. It knows they are temporary. This ability to observe rather than react changes everything. Because once you can see your emotions without being consumed by them, they lose their control over you. This is the true essence of anti-motivation. You no longer need constant inspiration to act. You no longer need chaos to feel alive. You are grounded. You can make decisions from a place of peace rather than panic. You can move forward without needing to be pushed by urgency or emotion. You become self-directed. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of mastery. It means you move deliberately, not frantically. You do not chase opportunity. You create it through consistency. You do not argue with circumstances. You adapt to them calmly. The still mind is not passive. It is powerful, because when you are calm, you see options that others miss. You notice details that others overlook. You respond strategically rather than emotionally. Think of a storm. The wind howls, the trees bend, and the sky churns. But deep beneath the surface of the ocean, everything is calm. That depth is what you are building. The surface of your life may experience chaos, but beneath it, your inner foundation remains steady. That inner calm becomes your anchor. It allows you to move through uncertainty without losing balance. The still mind also brings presence. You stop living in anticipation of the next thing. You stop replaying the past and imagining every possible future. You start living where life actually happens, in the present. The present moment is where power exists, because it is the only moment you can act in. The past is gone. The future is imagination. The present is the only place where change is real. Stillness gives you back your attention, and attention is everything. Whatever you give attention to grows. If you give it to fear, fear grows. If you give it to focus, progress grows. The world constantly tries to steal your attention through noise, opinions, and fear. A still mind does not give it away so easily. It knows how to say no. It knows that peace is more valuable than popularity. To cultivate stillness, begin with small moments. Sit quietly for a few minutes each day. No screens, no distractions. Just breathe and watch your thoughts. You will see how restless your mind is at first. You will feel an urge to check something, fix something, or plan something. Resist it. That discomfort is the noise leaving your system. Each time you return to stillness, you train your mind to obey you instead of the other way around. Over time, this calm becomes your default state. You begin to carry it into your conversations, your work, and your relationships. You stop taking everything personally. You stop rushing to fill silence with meaningless words. You listen more. You speak less. And when you do speak, your words carry weight, because people can feel the steadiness behind them. The still mind does not mean that life becomes easy. Challenges will still come, but your response changes. Instead of reacting with fear or frustration, you meet them with composure. You understand that everything is temporary. You no longer see problems as personal attacks, but as opportunities to practice patience and adaptability. The world loses its ability to shake you. Quiet power is the highest form of confidence. It does not shout or demand. It does not seek control over others. It controls itself. That is what true strength looks like. You are not trying to dominate the world. You are mastering your own mind. And once you do that, the world begins to respond differently to you. People trust those who are calm. They listen to those who do not need to prove themselves. Stillness is a rebellion in a world that runs on chaos. It is a declaration that you will not be owned by distraction. You will not be ruled by emotion. You will not be manipulated by urgency. You will live on your own terms, moving with intention, speaking with precision, and thinking with clarity. When you become the still mind, you stop chasing motivation because you no longer need it. You stop waiting for perfect conditions because you have learned that peace creates clarity, and clarity creates movement. You become the eye of the storm, the place where power and calm coexist. This is where anti-motivation leads you, not to excitement, not to frenzy, but to mastery. To the quiet confidence that needs no validation, to the calm that cannot be shaken, to the strength that does not fade when the noise grows loud. So breathe. Let the noise settle. Let the mind rest. What remains when everything else quiets down is who you truly are. Steady, clear, and unmovable. That is the still mind. That is freedom. And that is where your power begins.